Let's work together to inspire communities of song that sing together for the joy of doing it and to the glory of God. The organist as time management professional. I'm sitting here at the pipe organ where I do most of my practice. It's not at huge instruments in huge places where I usually get to work out the skills that I need for playing those instruments in those places. Here is where I do my wood shedding. Here is where I do my thinking about how I can best illustrate what I want to illustrate, how I can best lead in the ways that I want to lead, how I can best sing with my congregations. Here is where I think about these things. So I thought I would just share a few thoughts with you. First, we have to be time management professionals because Sundays keep coming. Now, during COVID, our Sundays have looked different, but many of us have taken on new responsibilities. It hasn't been a time of rest for us. And when COVID is over, it won't be a time of rest then either. It'll be a time of joy, I can't wait, but it won't be a time of rest. Sundays keep coming, and there is a need for music every single Sunday, and your congregations want to be inspired by you, and that means that you have to be prepared. So think about how you manage your time. First, assess your skills. All of us have strengths and weaknesses, and we don't really need to practice our strengths. But the problem is, they're very compelling. It's so much fun to play something that you can already play. Don't start your practice like that. End your practice like that. Reward yourself by playing something that feels great because it's so familiar to you. But spend the bulk of your practice time addressing your weaknesses. Design a custom curriculum for yourself. Have a goal for this week, this month, this year, and figure out how you could best get to that goal. If you're fortunate to have an instructor, work that out with your instructor. But if you're not, then work out a custom curriculum for yourself. Know your brain. Each brain works differently. My brain functions best first thing in the morning. So when I can, I try to engineer my day so that I can practice first thing in the morning. Now, of course, life gets in the way, and that's not always practical. But I try when I can to take the best advantage of the spot in the day when my brain works best. And then on those days when I can't, it's not an excuse to not practice, but I do practice differently so that I have the best advantage for that practice session to be very efficient. Study forms. Many hymns are in a form that's called AABA, meaning that there is a phrase, A, it's repeated, A, with very few changes. Then there's a B phrase that is very different, and then A again, with very few changes. So there are 3 A's for every 1 B. So that means you have to practice the B 3 times as much as you do the A's, just by virtue of how it appears in the form. You can analyze the form to your advantage to use your time better. Analyze the form of your preludes and postludes, the form of the anthem. Figure out how you can best practice to transfer skills and knowledge from one section to another very similar section. Figure out how you can use your time to best practice the form. Design shorthand for yourself, but dependable shorthand. In my opinion, it's unproductive to simply circle every spot that you have trouble with as you're practicing, because eventually a lot of things are circled And if you've given yourself no better knowledge as you're reading through than just a circle, you don't know why this gave you a problem. Is it a fingering problem? Is it a timing problem? Is it a phrasing problem? Is it a time when you need to look up for some indication from a clergy member or from a conductor? What is it that gave you problems here? Is it a sharp or a flat? Is it a pedal note that you need to figure out how to measure from another note? All sorts of things can cause you problems. So I would encourage you to write in something that helps you with that problem, so that next time you encounter this section, you have immediate knowledge, or at least a clue, as to what the solution might be. Here's an example of some of my shorthand. It's what I find most useful for me, but you need to develop your own. My shorthand won't make sense to you, yours will. Have a plan for every practice session. Have goals. For me, I need to design that before I get to the instrument. Otherwise, I'll just dive in. And normally, I'll dive in at the beginning of things. And that's not the best way to practice. I should have a goal for each practice session. I should have a goal for each piece. I'm going to learn this page, or this phrase, or the last phrase of the piece. Maybe I should start there. Every piece will have its optimal way, its optimal approach, and you need to figure out what that is. Design your practice session before you get to the instrument. And then when you are practicing, try not to go on autopilot. It's amazing how easily our brains either check out, go to sleep, start thinking about the next task that we have to do after we practice, or think about the meeting that you just came from. All of those things are unproductive brain activity for your practice session. So try to make your practice so compelling that your brain stays engaged. You'll know how to best do that for your brain. Constantly be evaluating. Evaluating in the moment, evaluating when you hit a problem spot, and evaluating your practice session after it is completed. So in the moment means, how did I do? Is that going well? When you encounter a problem means, what is the cause of that problem? Is this a recurring problem, or is it just because my brain checked out for a moment? Do I need to stop and figure out a solution? Should I write in that solution because I probably won't remember it next time? Always evaluating. And then at the end of your practice session, evaluate. Did I reach my goal? Why or why not? And use that information to design your next practice session. Be consistent. Be consistent in everything. Be consistent in your approach. Be consistent in your creativity. Be consistent in how you mark up your score. Be consistent in how you practice and when. And finally, don't forget to reward yourself. This isn't easy, the work that we do. It is full of joy, but it's also full of challenge. So remind yourself of the joy. At the end of a productive practice session, give yourself a reward. Maybe it's a musical reward, playing something that you love to play. Maybe it's a non-musical reward. Ice cream goes a long way with me. Find the thing that rewards you for the work that you've done. The Organist as time management professional. Find the rewards, overcome the challenges, and have fun.